to push our Dark Factory even further with Kimi K2.6. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to get right into things today, doing a lot of live building of obviously the Dark Factory application with Kimi K2.6, and I'll probably be doing some things with Archon as well, just because I'll have some downtime as I wait for the Dark Factory to run, and I want to keep something going the entire time during our stream today. So of course, before we get into things, I'll spend a little bit of time talking to you guys in the chat here. Hope you guys are having a good start to your weekend. Anyone have any fun weekend plans? Anything exciting going on? I mean, this is like the big thing for me for today, at least. I'll give I guess there's a little bit of a delay in the stream, so I have to wait a sec here. Just sip on my water. Or we could just get right into things. Might as well just do that. Anyway, so yeah, Kimi K2.6. This is a model that came out just like a week ago. Maybe a couple weeks ago now. And the benchmarks are just crushing it. Like, it's kind of crazy. I know benchmarks, they don't necessarily mean everything. But it at least gives us some kind of indicator that this is an open source model that is a lot cheaper than its direct competitors. And especially like what we care about with coding, it does really, really well compared to Claude Opus 4.6 on max effort and Gemini 3.1 Pro. And then also, of course, the new GPT 5.4 as well. So yeah, it looks really, really good. And it's also very cheap compared to other models that are equally as good. Like if we look at OpenRouter here, Kimi K2.6, it is actually cheaper than Haiku as far as input tokens go. So it's like almost as good as the new Opus 4.7, but it's pretty much like as expensive as Haiku, just looking at OpenRouter here. A little bit cheaper even. So pretty crazy. And we're going to be using this to run everything in the Dark Factory today. So I'm looking forward to that. So I've got my subscription already paid for, but nothing else is set up. So we're going to set up Kimi K2.6 from scratch in our Dark Factory, and we'll watch it manage issues and pull requests in the code base. So we'll kick off some things and then just let it rip. All right, Sean's on his way up to Montreal right now. Very cool, Sean. All right. Kimi K2.6, we're getting serious. That's right. We're getting some real engineering today. So yeah, for those of you guys who weren't following with my Dark Factory, the last couple of live streams that I did, I was using MiniMax M2.7 as my large language model for the whole Dark Factory. And I gotta be honest, this model has been a bit disappointing for me. Now, it is a third of the price compared to K2.6, so the cheapness factor is definitely nice, but I wasn't really getting the best output. Like overall, the work that it did was solid, but I would usually have to like go in with go into my factory and like create follow-up issues for my Claude code to handle. So it was still a Dark Factory in the sense that I wasn't touching any of the code, but it wasn't really MiniMax driving everything in the end in order to like really get the stability that I need for my AI tutor RAG application here that I'm building as the application for the Dark Factory. I definitely had Opus do a little bit of corrections from MiniMax M2.7. Not that it was terrible, and maybe it could have corrected itself if I created more follow-up issues and continued to have the factory work on itself, but it got kind of expensive, even with how cheap this is, because I'm paying per API credits instead of using my subscriptions. That's why I want to just use my Claude Code subscription to autonomously address some of these things. Didn't even know that 2.6 came out. Yeah, it did. I don't know if there's a date on this, but it was just a couple of weeks ago. And it is significantly better than Kimi K 2.5. Yeah, I don't see a date on this article at all. When did K 2.6 come out? It was released on April 13th. Yep, so just literally less than 2 weeks ago. Pretty cool. All right. Been playing with the self-hosted AI package on a framework desktop with Proxmox, challenging to get it all working across nodes. Well, I'm always happy to answer questions. I mean, I haven't done that myself personally, but I do know some people that have hosted the local AI package on Proxmox in the Dynamis community. So if you're in the community, then you can always make a post, and there are people that have that set up that way. I haven't used Proxmox myself before, though. All right. Did I also compare it with MiniMax? You know, for today, that's kind of what we're doing because I'm changing the factory from MiniMax M2.7 to Kimi K2.6. And so I'll be kind of commentating on the code quality comparison as we see it run. So we'll get into that in just a little bit here. All right. Do you think we should keep Opus or GPT for hard planning and swap to K2.6 when implementing? Yeah, so it depends on how token efficient you really want to be. Like personally, with the Anthropic subscription for Claude Code, the rate limits haven't been as bad for me the last couple of weeks as they were at the start of this month. So it seems like Anthropic has let off the gas a little bit, and I am able to take my subscription pretty far. So I was cranking out a ton of work yesterday, and I only hit 15% of my weekly limit. Not too bad. And so that being said, like, if as long as you're not hitting your rate limits with Anthropic, you might as well use Opus for the implementing and the planning. Like that's what I'm doing myself. But if you do find yourself hitting rate limits, then using K2.6 as a fallback is really good for implementing, as long as you have like a really spec'd out plan, so it doesn't have to do as much reasoning as Opus did during the actual planning. But yeah, I've been like pleasantly surprised with the rate limits this week. I felt like there was a time, maybe like the start of the month, like the first full week of April, I hit my limits so fast and it was so incredibly frustrating. And then Opus 4.7 came out, and then I feel like they just made it better because they want everybody to be happy with the release of Opus 4.7. Honestly, that might be what it is. We'll see. Would I use MiniMax for my second brain? Honestly, probably. For most things, I wouldn't use MiniMax to create like diagrams or PowerPoint presentations. Anything that's like really token heavy, I honestly think it doesn't do the best. But for more general tasks, like just having it help me like ideate for content or organizing things on my computer or helping me plan out my tasks for the week and things like that, I would definitely be down. Like MiniMax is powerful enough to handle those kind of things. It just wasn't like extremely impressive to me for longer agentic coding tasks that we have for the Dark Factory. And so speaking of that, let's actually change the Dark Factory to use Kimi K2.6. So like I said, the only thing that I have set up at this point is I have my subscription. So I just paid for like the $40 a month Kimi K2.6 subscription. It'll probably give me the usage that I need to handle the Dark Factory right now. And if we hit rate limits, maybe I'll upgrade in the middle of the stream, but I'm sure we'll be good. We'll see. So fingers crossed. I don't really know what tier I'll actually need for this, but I have that. And then otherwise, I don't even have Kimi K2.6 set up at all on my Dark Factory instance. And so that's the first thing that I'm going to do in our stream today is I have a remote instance that is running all of my Archon workflows to handle the Dark Factory. And so I'm not going to explain my Dark Factory a ton right now because I've done that on previous live streams. I don't want to repeat myself too much, and I want to get right into the building. But essentially within the Dark Factory, I'm using Archon, which is my open source harness builder. It allows you to take any AI coding process and package it up into YAML files that are just workflows that you can run in parallel on any code base that you want. And so I have a few different workflows to handle the entire software development lifecycle for the Dark Factory. So the first thing that we need to do with the Dark Factory is we need to triage our issues. So when I create a bunch of issues in the Dark Factory, like here are these bugs that need to be fixed, here's these features that need to be built, the Dark Factory needs to handle them. It needs to prioritize them, label them, and then pick them up one by one. And so that's what this first Dark Factory Archon workflow does. I call it my triage. And so it handles like GitHub labeling and figuring out if there's any duplicate issues that need to be closed and things like that. And so it's pretty actually powerful use case of building more deterministic workflows in Archon. So by the way, if you're interested in building your AI coding workflows in a way that's more reliable than what you already have, I would highly recommend checking out Archon. It's free and open source. Like, you can use this completely for free right now. So I'm going to put a link to this in the chat here. I think I have a link to this in the description of our live stream today as well. Actually, let me check that quick. Yes, I do. Okay, so at the bottom of the description, I have a link to Archon too. So like, this is my platform that is driving the entire Dark Factory. Basically, I define my process, like here's how I want to handle issues and review pull requests and triage issues, and I built them each stage as an Archon workflow. So I have another one that'll like go through a full process of planning, implementing, and validating each GitHub issue. I have another one that does full pull request review. So it's kind of like the equivalent of having like greptile or CodeRabbit, but I built it for myself. So every time there's a pull request, the Dark Factory will run this Archon workflow to do a comprehensive review and then like post any follow-ups as comments to the pull request. And then the last workflow that I have, this one's probably the most powerful out of them all. So there's this workflow that I run every single week. So once a week, I'm going to do extremely comprehensive regression testing on the Codebase. So it uses the agent browser CLI. It uses a browser automation tool to like actually navigate to the website that I have deployed live and then test it with my user. So it'll test different RAG queries, making sure that it's citing sources from my YouTube channel properly and that we can like click into this repo that I'll link to, actually like watch the YouTube video and make sure that that content is aligned with the RAG agent's answer. It'll test all edge cases and user journeys and the whole like admin dashboard that I have right here to manage my videos. Still working on the UI for it, as you can see. But it does completely comprehensive regression testing. And then for any issue that it encounters, it creates an issue in GitHub. And so that way the Dark Factory is feeding itself things to work on as it's encountering any issues in the application. So this is probably the thing that like really ties it together out of all of the Archon workflows that we have here. And everything right now is running with MiniMax M2.7. And so I'm going to go over to my code base here, switch my model to Opus. Also, I need to make sure, I don't know why it was set to Sonnet there. That's kind of weird. I need to make sure, yep, okay, so I got the 1 million tokens. Very good. I should probably disable the Neon MCP server. I don't really need that currently. Not using Neon for this. Okay, good. So I'll go ahead and clear. And then the thing that drives this entire implementation is a single markdown document that I have with my Dark Factory plan. And so as I was first ideating on building this Dark Factory, I worked with my second brain to create this plan, and then I've been updating this over time as I've been actually executing the Dark Factory. And so you can see that like I created this on the 10th, and then I last updated this on the 21st. So it's been a few days because I've just kind of been letting it run. I haven't actually made any changes to it. That's now what I'm going to do for the first time in a few days for our live stream today. So super comprehensive document outlining how I'm using MiniMax and the Archon workflows for the Dark Factory and how I want to handle issues and pull requests and things like that. And so this also has all the information, like all the context that Claude Code needs to understand the Dark Factory. So I'm going to copy this path and then just paste it in here. And I'm going to say, read the Dark Factory plan and then tell me the command to SSH into the instance. Because I'm going to use this just to show you really quick how we're currently using MiniMax, and then we'll see what it looks like after I switch it to using Kimi K2.6. All right. Maybe give a short explanation of what I am building. So I hope like what I just covered in the last few minutes is that short explanation you're looking for. So I've explained the Dark Factory. It's really just a code base that manages itself. No human code allowed. Anytime I want to work on something in the code base, I create a GitHub issue. This is the entry point, and then I have Archon workflows that manage the entire software development lifecycle, all the way to merging the code and deploying to production. And so I give an issue, and then an hour later, it turns up as a change live in the website. It's pretty cool. So it's very experimental. I wouldn't say this is the most reliable way to ship production code, because I do recommend having human in the loop for validating plans and the outputted code. But it's really cool to just play around with like what is possible with AI coding assistance right now. That's what I'm doing with the Dark Factory. And then as far as the actual application that I'm building, I explained this really briefly. I'm calling it DynaChat, short for, like Dynamis chat application. It's an AI tutor that performs RAG over my YouTube content. So I can ask a question like, what is the Whisk framework, for example? And it searches and even finds the exact video. It cites all the sources that it found, which this is a little verbose right now. It's actually probably one of the things I want to work on with the Dark Factory today. I've purposely left in some issues that I haven't worked on off camera because I need to have some demonstration of like, here are some problems I have in the application right now. So let me create them as issues in the Dark Factory and then let Kimi K2.6 work on it. So that's what we're doing right now. So going back to the Claude code here, this is the SSH command that I need to access the instance. So let me go into my terminal and actually do that. I'll show you when I SSH into this instance. Let me zoom in a little bit and full screen it and clear. If I do a Claude, if I go into Claude code within this factory, you can see that it's using MiniMax M2.7 currently. If I say like, what model are you? It's using MiniMax. So this has been driving everything so far. I am MiniMax M2.7. So now we're going to use Kimi K2.6. And the cool thing is, because it has access to my SSH key, my Claude code that is running on my local computer can SSH into this remote instance where the entire Dark Factory is running. It has my Archon user here because I'm running all my Archon workflows on this VPS. And it can change my environment variables. It can pull the latest changes from the Codebase, from the Dark Factory. It can manage everything for me locally, even though it is a remote instance. And so what I can do is I can just go into my speech to text here and say, all right, so I want to switch the Dark Factory from using MiniMax M2.7 to Kimi K2.6. So search the web for Kimi K2.6 so you know how to change the Claude Code environment variables to the Anthropic compatible Kimi endpoint, how to use my subscription. So I have the $40 a month Kimi K subscription that I want to use. So instead of paying for API credits, I just want to use my subscription. So I think we'd have to like install Kimi. So I want you to find the command for that. And then we'd have to do our authentication, kind of like what you do with Claude or Codex. So I just want you to walk me through every step of the way here and then do everything for me that you are able to do. All right. So there's probably a little bit that I'll have to like sign in. I've never actually used Kimi K models before. So that, like I bought the subscription like a half hour before our live stream here. So we're really doing this from scratch together. I'm not really sure if I'd have to do like a Kimi login or something, because I think what I need to do is I need to run this command to install it on the VPS, which it can do that for me, and then I'd have to do a login where I think I would like sign into Google here and then copy some code to paste in, kind of like you do with Claude Code. I'm guessing. We'll see. And by the way, this is the plan that I'm on right now. The $40 a month. So at this one, probably I would hit my rate limits too fast just from a little bit of research that I did. And then this is like 5 times the usage of the $20 a month. And then this is like 15 times the usage as the $20 a month. So this one actually seemed like the best bang for your buck. And yeah, we'll see. If we hit rate limits, I'll upgrade, but I think I'm good. Cool. So I'll just let this continue to search right now. I would prefer to do running the coding agent local, but I think that's not realistic. Time is not so important, but the output quality. Right, that's the thing with local AI. These open source models, and especially like the new Qwen 3.6, the 27 billion parameter one, that is like super powerful and super cool. Like they're catching up to the frontier models. And mark my words, there is going to be a time in the next year or two where inference becomes so expensive for frontier models that like a lot of us are going to be relying on local AI for a lot of our coding. But you're certainly right that like the output quality is just not there quite yet. I mean, like I said, even with MiniMax M2.7, I was like a little disappointed overall with the quality. It was decent, But it's like a breath of fresh air when I finally switch back to Opus and everything is working just, you know, a decent amount better again. So maybe Kimi K2.6 will be super impressive, and that's what I'm looking forward to finding out with you guys. But yeah, it's certainly the case where, like, if you want the best output possible, you're just going to be using Opus 4.7 or, you know, GPT 5.4 or something like that, at least for now. Opus is really slow too. It's decently slow. Suppose K2.6 is way faster for implementing a speed is important. For example, Cursor Composer 2 is based on K2.5 is insanely fast. You know, I don't know how fast K2.6 really is. Looking at OpenRouter, it didn't seem insanely quick. Actually, the tokens per second is kind of pathetic. If we go straight to Moonshot, it's 30 tokens per second. So this is the provider I'll be using, obviously. They're the creators of Kimi K. But if we were to look at, for example, like 123 tokens per second with MiniMax, a lot faster, at least if you're going through Fireworks. And then if we look at Opus 4.7, and we go straight to Anthropic, it's 50 tokens per second. So actually, at least according to OpenRouter, it's faster. So I think with Cursor, when they created Composer 2, they've done some optimizations to make it blazing fast, and that's kind of part of the value proposition they're trying to frame. Like, we try our models because it might not be better, but it's going to be faster, so you can build quicker. But I think, like, by itself, Kimi K 2.5 or 2.6, I don't think it's really faster. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe there's some nuance there that I don't know, but just looking at OpenRouter here, it's slower. All right, what's your second brain setup status at the moment? Do you still use the version with the daily logs and promotion to memory, user, and soul markdown? I sure do. Yeah, I don't see myself really changing that ever. Took a lot of inspiration from OpenClaw when I built that, and it's working extremely well. So I basically have like Claude Code's dream feature, where I create summaries of every single conversation I have with my second brain. I put it to a daily log file, and then every single morning I have a autonomous process that looks through the daily logs and tries to pick out like if there's anything super important to remember going forward. So it'll promote those memories to a file that is always loaded into the context for my second brain. It works extremely well. And then it can also perform RAG, and I sort of have also a Karpathy LLM knowledge base thing set up with the daily logs too. So it can always refer back to those if it wants full context from prior conversations. All right. Yeah, I found that I had to follow up on complex tasks with M2.7. I use MiniMax for bulk changes, and then my $20 GPT Codex tokens for a second pass in my dark factory. That's a pretty neat setup, yeah. That's one thing that I have thought about doing that I haven't yet is mixing providers for the dark factory. So that could be something cool to explore as well. But right now I definitely want to get M2.7 set up. Okay, cool. So here we go. Here's exactly what's needed to switch everything to using Kimi K2.6. Okay, so auth token. Let's see, and then we get switch to Kimi for coding for all of our models. Enable tool search, false. Okay, let's see. So I have to generate a Kimi code API key. Okay, interesting. Oh, so I don't actually have to do a login. I have to just do an API key. Interesting. I guess I'll do that. And then, okay, so I'm gonna say, all right, tell me exactly what I should do to set this environment variable in my VPS. And then I want you to do everything else for me. Set it up and then actually test Claude to make sure that it is using Kimi K2.6. So I'm in the instance already. I think I know the path to the environment variable that I need to change. And I'll also have to do this off camera, obviously, because I'll have to create a Kimi API key here. But I'll take care of that one thing, and then I'll have it set up everything else for me. I think it should be able to. So I have to go into my settings, and then, oh wait, that's not it. Kimi code console. Okay, yeah, here it is. So I'll create API key here. I'll call it dark factory. So I'm doing this part off camera because it's going to actually give me the key. So done. So, okay, there we go. So this is my ID, and then I just copied the key. So this is my key, obviously not showing the full thing there. I'm going to also save this off camera as well, just so I have it in case I forget. Let's see, Dark Factory, Kimi K2, Kimi Code API key. Okay. Good. All right. And then let's see, going back to Claude here. All right. Back up the current. I mean, sure. Let's copy this. So I'll just do it like that. And then let's do that. All right. And then I have to nano into the .env. So this is the part that I have to obviously change myself. Okay. So make these edits. Anthropic auth token. All right. For this one, you know, I might actually ask it to change all the environment variables itself. Let's do that, because that'll be quicker. So, all right, I set the Anthropic auth token myself, but all the other ones, since they don't need API keys, you can do this. I want you to go ahead and make all the updates to the .env and then confirm once everything's set up. I want you to test everything end to end as well to make sure that Claude is indeed working with Kimi K2.6. Okay, the other thing that I'm a little bit unsure about is because it's saying it's switching the model to Kimi for coding. But does that actually mean that it's using Kimi K2.6? Like, how do I actually know? Well, I guess it kind of tells me right here. Like, it's saying that my model for Kimi code is K2.6. So I guess that's all I need. We should be good then. Well, let me check out their docs. I wonder if I am using. Well, actually, let's chat with it here and see if it has a good answer, because it has access to its own docs apparently. So if I'm using Kimi with Claude code by overriding the Anthropic base URL to point to the Kimi Anthropic compatible one, and I'm specifying Kimi-coding for the model, does that mean I'm using Kimi K2.6 for the model? I'm curious if it actually knows. I've never used Kimi K2.6, their like chat platform here. So let's see. All right. What tool am I using for text-to-speech? I'm using a tool called Aqua Voice. This is my Aqua Voice here, which I am almost at 1 million words spoken with Aqua Voice now, which is bonkers. So Aqua Voice is $10 a month. There are some free options, open source options as well. I just recommend having some speech-to-text tool because it speeds up your development so much. Yeah. All right. Cool. Wow, seems really cool. I appreciate it. So I built Archon with almost 20,000 stars. That's right. We are almost at 20,000 stars for Archon. If you guys haven't starred Archon yet, I would really appreciate you doing so, because we are 300 away to 20,000 stars. That will actually be my first open source project that has reached 20,000 stars. I have a couple of repositories that are over 10,000, but this would be the first one to get to 20,000. So I know that I'm no OpenClaw or Hermes agent. That would be cool, but it still is an honor to even get close to 20,000. So a lot of people that are using Archon and loving it. And by the way, for everyone who's like sharing with me their workflows and ways they're using Archon in Dynamis and even just like over email and YouTube comments, I appreciate it a lot. People are doing really, really cool things with Archon. Even building a lot of workflows that are more than just AI coding. One thing really quick that we did in the Dynamis community yesterday. So I had a workshop in Dynamis yesterday, which was my masterclass for building Archon workflows. And a couple of guys on my team, Rasmus and Thomas, I don't know if they're here right now, but hey guys, if they are, they helped me build a workflow in Archon to generate a full video from a piece of AI news. So the Archon workflow will like fetch the content from the news, like the release of GPT 5.5, for example. And do I have that up right now? I actually do have that up right now. So it's called Remotion from Hacker News because it'll like pull the latest AI trends from Hacker News, and then it'll use the Remotion skill to create a video, and then 11 Labs or Cartesia to create the voice. It'll create like a full clip with voice and video and like animations rendered and everything based on the piece of news, and it uses an Archon workflow, just a single workflow to build the entire thing. It's so freaking cool. So we actually like built a video live in the workshop yesterday. So that was a really cool workshop. Just in general, like teaching you how to build your own workflows with Archon. So you can take your own AI coding process, no matter what that is, and package it up into a workflow in Archon where you can like build in reliability by having certain steps that are deterministic, right? Like you want to, as much as possible, take control away from the agent. If there's a certain part of your process that you always need to happen, you should make it deterministic instead of just asking the agent to do it like you would in a skill. And that's even another thing that I showed in the workshop yesterday was how you can take a Claude Code skill and turn it into an Archon workflow. So you can extract the certain things that you want to just run as commands versus allowing the agent to decide whether or not to actually do it, because sometimes that leads to bad results. Like you guys know what I'm talking about when you're using AI coding assistants and you tell it to run validation after the implementation and it forgets to do that. It's so frustrating when that happens. And so in an Archon workflow, like one of the things you do is after implementation, you enforce your validation commands to run. So yeah, very cool workshop. I'll put a link to Dynamis in the chat here if you guys want to check it out, because the replay for the workshop is available, of course, and so you can go back and watch that, learn how to build Archon workflows for yourself. And then of course more content on that coming soon in Dynamis and the YouTube channel as well, because Archon is my biggest focus right now. And yeah, one other thing while we're waiting for Claude to finish the Kimi K setup, one other thing I want to say is that tomorrow is actually the 1-year anniversary of Dynamis. So we're doing some pretty special things next week for the community. I'll be doing some YouTube live streams and talking about that more next week as well. But yeah, big things happening in the community. So okay, let's go back and see where we're at. I'm going to drag this off camera just in case it prints out any environment variables as it's doing things here. It actually is still, okay, it's still working. All right. So I'm gonna let it keep editing. It's still setting the configuration up in my machine to use Kimi. All right. So I guess while we wait for that, I'll keep going through some questions in the chat here. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Are you always using Claude Code? Isn't it a bad harness? At least I heard that in benchmarks over harnesses that get more out of Claude models. So Archon is where I'm actually running my workflows now. So I would call Archon my harness. I just use Claude Code to orchestrate things. But for most of the actual like planning and implementing and validating, I do that through Archon workflows. So Claude Code, it's not really a harness. It kind of is, but it's more of an agentic coding tool that you could maybe call like a light harness. But it's not doing a lot of heavy lifting under the hood like a lot of these newer harnesses are doing, and like what you can build with Archon. But I still think that like if you're wanting to just have like a really simple setup for working with AI coding assistants, like Claude Code by itself is still good. I just would recommend having a layer on top like Archon or whatever other harness you want to pull from GitHub, like BMAT or GSD or whatever, to build whatever you're building. It'd be kind of something like that is on top of Claude Code, right? Like when I run an Archon workflow, I still am using Claude Code, but my Archon workflow is orchestrating different steps and different Claude Code instances. So it's a layer on top to make things more repeatable and reliable. What is the context window size? For Kimi K2.6, it is 250,000 tokens, about. Which for what I'm doing here, that's definitely all I need, especially because I have Archon workflows that split the planning or investigating and then implementing and validating between different coding agent sessions. I'm never going to hit this limit. So I'll be good. I mean, definitely it's no 1 million like Opus, but doesn't need to be. Do you know if you have to use Kimi code or can you use Pi or Open code? So I'm not using Kimi code directly. I'm just using the subscription with my Claude code. You can do the same thing with Pi or Open code. So Pi coding agent Kimi K2.6. If we look at their documentation, maybe I should just go to the Pi coding agent GitHub. They have support for pretty much any coding agent tool you could possibly want. Like if you go to providers and models, these are the subscriptions you can use, and then you can use an API key for Kimi for coding, and like this will use your subscription. At least that's what Claude is telling me right now. We might figure out the hard way that I have to set something up differently, but this I believe like you set an API key, but it is using a subscription just like these. It's just these have the different authentication method where you have to like sign in with your Google account and paste in your key like after a /login. But this isn't like pay per credit, I don't think, or pay per token. I'm hoping at least. We'll find out. All right. I'm going to check back and see where we are at. Okay. All right. Looking good. So here's a full summary. A result, Kimi K2.6 is live on the Dark Factory. Verified end-to-end. A plain text model self-identifies as Kimi. All environment variables are set correctly. We have a rollback plan because I have the old environment variables if I need. So I can like within like 5 seconds go back to MiniMax M2.7 if I wanted. One thing to watch, okay, this is the thing we have to keep in mind here. I'm not paying per token anymore, so I have to keep in mind the Kimi code subscription has soft limits. 5-hour rolling token window, 30 concurrent requests max. Okay, so we're fine because I have it set right now. I have it parameterized in the Dark Factory, so I can change how many GitHub issues it can work on at the same time with Archon workflow. So I have it set to a lower limit right now, just because I want to avoid rate limits and spending too much at once anyway. But yeah, we can actually test this now. So if I go back to my instance here, and I go into Claude, it should say Kimi instead of MiniMax. Oh, well, yeah, I'd have to SSH back in. So let me exit, because I don't think the environment variables were refreshed there. So let me go back in. Okay, clear, and then go back into Claude. And let's see. There we go. Okay, cool. So now it's swapped to Kimi for coding. Very cool. And if I say, what model are you? So I'm just asking the exact same question back when it was MiniMax M2.7 at the start of our stream. Make sure we actually get a response. It's thinking. I don't like how slow it feels, honestly. There we go. So we got powered by Kimi for coding. Very cool. And then if we go to our dashboard here and I refresh, we should see that I have a little bit of usage. Okay, well, I guess we haven't used it enough for it to even go to 1%, which that's a good thing, because I have only sent in a couple of requests. That'd be unfortunate if yeah, current usage is less than 1%. Okay, cool. Is there a way? I guess there's no way to see. Oh, no, here we go. Yep. So here's our usage history, 38 minutes. So yeah, literally just like 30 seconds ago, you can see like from the Claude CLI that's running externally in my Dark Factory, we made a model inference request. So looking really good. We just made 9 requests in total. Okay, very cool. So we are set up to go now. So literally all I have to do is I need to just start creating GitHub issues in the Dark Factory. And then my Dark Factory will automatically start triaging them, picking them up, and implementing them with Kimi K2.6. I don't even have to lift a finger at that point. So the only thing that's my responsibility is finding problems or new things that I want to build into the chat application here. And so one thing that I've been really loving with the Dark Factory is I can go into Claude Code here, and I can just give a brain dump of everything that doesn't feel really, perfect to me with the Dark Factory right now. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of poke around with the application, and I'll test it live. And then I will just kind of speak out loud any of the bugs that I encounter or things that I want to be tweaked or like any new features that I want to add. And so then I'll send that into Claude Code and I'll have it actually create the GitHub issues for me. So it can give good descriptions and everything to make sure that that we have enough context going into the implementation with Kimi K2.6. So I'm first going to copy the path to the repository here, just so that it has access, because I'm going to have it research the code base so it has full context to help me create the issues, right? So I wanted to, take in my brain dump, look at the code base to have context around like what parts of the code base we'll probably have to change or fix, and then create the issues. And so I'm just going to poke around the platform here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give you a big brain dump of problems in the Dark Factory application that RAG AI Tutor and new things that I'd maybe want to build or tweak. And so I want you to take in my brain dump and then spin up subagents to research the code base that I gave you the path to at the start of the prompt, just so you have full context for how we're going to probably have to address these issues or add in these new features. And then I want you to create individual GitHub issues for everything that I've identified in the Dark Factory repository, so that Kimi K2.6 and the Archon workflows will pick up the work automatically. So, okay. The first thing that I noticed as I am testing the AI Tutor application is that it cites an insane number of sources whenever it performs RAG queries for me. So, for example, I asked it, what is the WISC framework? And it gave me the correct answer after searching for a while. But then it listed out 47 sources, and most of these sources are not really related to the WISC framework at all. In fact, this question in particular really only has to source the answer from a single video, which it found that video correctly, and it gave me the correct answer, but maybe we should limit the number of sources that are returned so that we like only return the most relevant, 10, for example, because there's so much stuff to click through here if I wanted to actually view a YouTube video. So that's the first problem. Let's see, what else is there? I'm going to start with that. Okay, so I'm going to send that in because I'll have to like actually test things out a little bit more with you guys to find other problems that we have. So, trying to think what else we have here. Yeah, so the other thing is in the admin library, the user or the UI doesn't look that good. I think we need to make the table a little bit bigger because the resync and delete buttons are on different lines and there's like no padding between them. It just looks really messy. So definitely want to fix that. And then another problem that I have with the user interface overall is it doesn't really look that good right now. I want to like add a little bit of pizzazz. Let's say we'll add some pizzazz to the front end. Like right now it looks really flat and really basic. Honestly, I don't know exactly what I'm going for the UI, but that's why I'd be interested in just trying something with the pull request and seeing what Kimi K2.6 would come up with to make the user interface look better. Just I want to keep it simple, still pretty simple, but like right now it just looks so bland. All right, so we'll send that in as well. So I think we have 3 issues at this point. So we have the UI, the admin UI improvements, and then the whole like there's way too many sources. Like this is actually probably the biggest thing. Oh yeah, and then there's another thing. The other thing is when I click on any of the sources from an answer, I don't like the modal that pops up. It's weird because the YouTube video is super small. And then there's like a random sentence to the right of the YouTube video as well. I want the modal to be taller than it is long so that I can render the video and make it actually look a reasonable size. And then I don't know why there's like some random sentence to the right of the YouTube video. Like it's like that for every single one of them. And so I don't need that at all. Yeah. So that would be good to fix as well. And then let me test the conversation search. Okay, the conversation search actually works pretty well. Let me look at the library here. One thing that we don't have is a search in the video library. It'd be really good to add a search in the video library. And then what else do we have? If I log out here. Okay, yeah, so the authentication page looks really bad right now as well. Because we have the text DynaChat, and then the subtitle Ask Colmadine's YouTube library anything. But then that's like to the left of the login pane, and there's no spacing between them. What I would really want is for the logo and the title and subtitle to be above the login pane. Have everything just organized vertically, like any kind of usual login that you would have. Like, because even on mobile, it gets like super smashed together. Like this list looks really, really bad. So it'd be good to do that too. And then yeah, the last problem that I have here that I'll give you for now is that when I click on new chat to start a new conversation, it correctly starts a new chat, and then in the left-hand chat bar it says new conversation. But when I click away, it like still exists. And even if I like refresh the page, we still have something in the chat history that says new conversation, even though I never actually sent a message there. And so we would kind of just like want that to not exist as long as you click away or refresh. Okay. There we go. So there's my brain dump. Just a ton of like random things that I'm noticing here. I think we have like 6 or some like maybe like 8 issues that we created in total. So we'll see what it comes up with. There we go. All right. All right. So while it's creating this, I'll go back to our chat here. I've been using an Ansible Vault to encrypt my environment and other files with sensitive strings, and Claude knows how to deal with it, and I have built a masking filter for displaying output. That's pretty cool. I would love to have that for my live streams, honestly. That would be useful, because I don't have to be worried about like it looking at things. And I mean, I have Claude Code hooks to prevent it from reading and writing to environment variables, but I have it like, I mean, sometimes it can print things out still. It's never perfect. All right. My local AI repo is fully operational at Robotics Factory. Oh, that's cool. How do you know that? Is it your factory? That's cool, though. All right. Can there be a workflow marketplace? 100%. That is something that we're interested in building for Archon. Is having something kind of like Pi has their extension marketplace, like for Pi coding agent extensions, like having something like this for like even like npm installs of Archon workflows that people are sharing with each other, that would be super cool. So that is something that I do have on the roadmap. Start it for me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for starring Archon. Let's see where we're at now. We are at, so if we hover over, we're at 1,000 or 19,664 stars currently. I guess it rounded up to 19.7 for the truncation there. Pretty cool. We're almost there at 20,000. Fantastic work about Archon. If we import a plan that was already created by another LLM, what happens next? Does Archon reanalyze and refine the plan, or does it manually execute it as provided? So that is entirely up to the workflow that you build with Archon. So the thing with Archon is it's a harness builder, not a harness itself. So there's not a forced process that you have to go through with Archon. You get to define exactly how you want the Archon workflow to deal with your plan. So you can build an Archon workflow that takes a plan as input and then reanalyzes and refines it. Or you could build an Archon workflow that takes the plan and then goes right into implementation. It's entirely up to you what the Archon workflow does. So the like kind of like misunderstanding, I want to make sure you understand that like it's not like this is another BMAD or another GSD, another harness where it's like some opinionated process that you are adopting for yourself. We do have default workflows in Archon that ship with the tool. So like one that can fix GitHub issues for you. You give it an issue and it'll implement the fix for it all the way to pull requests. We have my piv loop workflow. This is like my classic planning, implementing, validating that I always do. This is like the core of what I teach in the agentic coding course in Dynamis. We have a Ralph loop Archon workflow. So like literally taking the Ralph harness and building it as an Archon harness. We have a pull request review workflow. So like you can use these out of the box, but really the best way to use Archon is to build your own workflows. And so all you have to do, check this out, guys. It is so incredibly easy. All you have to do to build an Archon workflow is you have to, first of all, obviously install Archon. I have installation steps in the README here. Very easy to get it up and running. And then within the .clod skills directory, I have the Archon skill. I'll put a link to this in the YouTube chat here. You just take this skill and you put it into any code base where you want to build an Archon workflow for that code base. And then you tell your Claude Code or Codex or whatever to load this skill and then help you build a workflow. You just describe in plain English what you want the workflow to do, and then it will create the YAML file and it can help you execute it with the Archon CLI and everything. So it can guide you through the entire process. So you can basically say, like, build me an Archon workflow that takes a plan as input and then reanalyzes and refines it and then goes into implementation and then ends in a pull request or ends in a human approval gate so I can take a look at the implementation. It's really up to how you currently work. And that's the beauty of Archon is there are a lot of harnesses that are available out there, or AI coding frameworks, you know, like GitHub Spec Kit and Cloudflow and BMAD, things like that. And they're powerful, but they're not your own. And they're not custom to how you want to actually work. And they're really hard to tweak to your own process. But Archon goes the other way. Instead of it being something that comes out of the box, it's the execution engine and the builder to allow you to really like create your own process. So I hope that makes sense. Dude, this is sick. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. All right. Cool. I need subtitles on these live streams. They make it much easier to follow everything in real time. I appreciate the suggestion. Is that something that I can enable? Because I thought that you would just be able to add subtitles. Hold on. Okay, I see. So I'm going to like the viewer view of a live stream. It says that subtitles are not available. I might have to look into that. Because maybe that's something like a box I can check. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. But that would be good. I agree. Wondering how much inference you actually get with the Kimi basic plan. Anyone in chat know? I don't actually know myself. Let me see. Did anyone else say? Okay. Doesn't seem like anyone else knows. I mean, we could always ask it here. It's almost done creating. Okay, so now it's just creating the GitHub issues, by the way. But anyway, I can go into a new Claude session. I'll just say, search the web for the Kimi rate limits. If I have the $40 a month Kimi plan with the Kimi coding model, how many tokens can I use every 5 hours with the rolling window? Like just in general, give me a summary of the rate limits. Oh, we'll see. I'm sure it'll give me a good answer here. I have a PR I'm working on to attribute. Very cool. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm always open to pull requests in Archon. We are trying our best to handle all of the issues in pull requests. There are a lot because anyone can use an AI coding assistant to create issues in PRs now. There is a lot to sift through. But we've obviously already worked on a ton of both pull requests and issues. And so the list builds up, but like we're paying attention to these things and we're handling stuff. Like I'm very dedicated to continuing to evolve our code base here. All right. Longtime member of the Dynamis community. I appreciate it. So you can connect Claude Code to Archon. I thought I had to use Code Agent APIs for that. I am a bit confused. So you are able to use your Anthropic subscription to use Claude Code within Archon. So when you build an Archon workflow, you get to specify, like within the YAML here, you get to specify your provider. Right now, Archon supports running Claude Code, Codex, and Pi. So the important thing to understand is Archon is not a coding agent. It is the workflow builder and execution engine. So it's using a coding agent under the hood. So you can use your Codex subscription, you can use your Anthropic subscription, or if you're using Pi, then you can use like any of the millions of LLMs and subscriptions that are available with the platform. Like I use Codex with Pi, for example. You can't actually use Anthropic with Pi because it's against the Anthropic terms of service. They block that as a tool. But when you use Archon with Claude Code, it uses the Claude Agent SDK under the hood. And you are allowed to use your Anthropic subscription with the Agent SDK. They've made it very clear, like Boris Cherny, the creator of Claude Code, he clarified on Twitter, on X, that you are allowed to use your Anthropic subscription with the Claude Agent SDK and running Claude in headless mode with -p. And so with Archon, because it uses the Claude Agent SDK and it's an application that we just run locally, you are allowed to use your subscription. And I want to reiterate that because a lot of people ask me that all the time because of all of the scare with your subscription being banned from Pi and OpenCode and OpenClaw. Unfortunately, a lot of those third-party harnesses, they don't actually use the Agent SDK under the hood. Like with OpenClaw, it was using a workaround where basically you'd use the Anthropic API directly instead of the Agent SDK. And there was like a little hack to basically trick the Anthropic API into thinking the request was coming right from Claude Code instead of OpenClaw or whatever other third-party harness. So that's why it's against the Anthropic terms of service there, but not with Archon. So I hope it clears that up. All right. Cool. What the hell is going on here? Fair question. Yeah, we're doing a lot of live building right now with the Dark Factory. So this is an experiment I'm running using AI coding assistants to manage a code base entirely autonomously. So my input into the code base is GitHub issues. I send in an issue and then I have workflows that run behind the scenes to handle everything from issue all the way to the code deployed to production. And I'm running this as an experiment, obviously, because there's a lot of trust I'm putting into the models here. But it's really cool to see this code base basically evolve autonomously. And I've been talking a lot about Archon as well because this is my workflow builder and engine that I use to take my AI coding process, like here's how I want to run the Dark Factory, and package it up into workflows that I can run to handle every step of the way, like creating the pull request from the issue, validating the pull request, doing regression testing, all those kinds of things. And I know that I'm not like explaining everything from scratch in this stream just because I've done that in prior live streams and I really just want to build in public with you guys right now, but that is what the hell's going on right now. Yeah. All right, cool. So, have I ever estimated the token overhead for using Archon workflows compared to rudimentary plan implement modes in Claude Code? Is it like a 10, 30, 50, 70% overhead? So this is a good question. It's something that a lot of people have been asking me. I don't know if I've done the best at explaining this. So let's talk about this for a little bit, and then we have our issues created, so we'll move on to this in a second here. But with Archon, there is not actually an inherent token overhead. I mean, maybe like 5% because we have like the Archon skill that teaches it how to use the Archon CLI. 5% token overhead max. Because the thing is, aside from the Archon skill, so it knows how to use Archon workflows and invoke them, your workflow it can literally just be your existing process, but packaged up as an Archon workflow. So you can have the exact same prompts, the same commands, the same skills, the same testing strategy, the same everything. As long as you're creating your own custom Archon workflow. It's not like every node has extra context. I mean, I guess there's like a little bit of tweaking you might have to do because you have Archon nodes that have to like pass information to each other. But again, it's like a 10% token overhead max. Like I would say like 5%. Because otherwise everything is like exactly what you did before. Now, the thing that makes Archon feel more token heavy to people is because it's so easy in Archon to create like really comprehensive workflows. Like you can kind of get away from yourself being like, oh, I want to do this validation, I want to do this review, and I want to do this step and this step and this step, because it makes it so easy to build elaborate workflows that then by the time you've created it and you run it, it's doing so much that you don't even really realize how much is going on. So it takes a lot of tokens, but it's not like it's Archon's fault. It's just because your workflow is complicated. And so I've seen a lot of people, like, without really thinking about it, build these insanely large workflows. And then they blame Archon, but it's like, no, okay, just simplify your workflow. And then all of a sudden it's, not really spending more tokens at all. And honestly, with Archon, it's quite easy to make your workflows even more token efficient, because one of the things that you can set as a parameter in your different nodes in Archon is the model that you're using. So you don't always need Opus, or you don't always need GPT 5.4 on max reasoning. Sometimes for your research, you can just use Haiku. Or for your planning, you might use Opus, and then your implementation might use Codex, like whatever it is. You can optimize a lot of your token usage by going between models and even providers depending on the node that you're in the Archon workflow. And then, yeah, my biggest piece of advice is like, with Archon, it's like, what Peter Parker's uncle in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Like Archon, it's so tempting to make these like super elaborate workflows. But then that's what drains your tokens. So hope that makes sense. All right, so I'll come back to the chat, of course, but I want to right now go back to the issues that we just created here. So take a look at this. We also have everything triage now. So I don't know if you guys remember from just like 10 minutes ago when I showed this screen, we had the issues created, but there weren't any labels on any of them. So the factory is already working. With Kimi K2.6, it ran the Archon triage workflow to go through each one of these. And we can see that it identified the priority. It identified the type, like is this a feature or is this a bug that needs to be fixed? And we kind of have a good mix here. Like the search that I wanted to add to the video library, that's a feature. And then we have, like, for example, the YouTube player being squished, like this thing looking kind of bad. Like this I would call it a bug. So, I mean, it did a fantastic job. I mean, obviously a pretty simple request overall, but it did a really good job triaging things. And then also we have the label of factory accepted, because this is the queue for the Archon workflow to actually handle the issues. Like, we can handle this because it's not labeled as factory needs human. It is labeled as this is accepted for the factory to implement end-to-end autonomously, ending with a production deployment once we have the pull request and we have reviewed it. So pretty cool. And then if we go to Kimi here and I do a refresh, we should see our limits changed. Oh, we're still at, okay, wow. So the triage wasn't even enough to take me to 1%. So we must have pretty generous rate limits here, actually. Or wait, hold on. That doesn't look right, though, because it still says the last time I used it was 38 minutes past the hour. So that actually looks a little fishy. I'm going to go in there. Well, first of all, we got... Okay. Okay, my plan, $40 a month. Oh, that's pretty good. So with the $40 a month Kimi K2.6 plan, I get 20 million tokens for every 5-hour rolling window. And then cached input tokens don't count against the quota. That's pretty good. It's pretty hard to use 20 million tokens in 5 hours. I mean, people do it all the time, but I'm saying, like, for what I'm doing right now, that's definitely going to be enough. Okay, but yeah, the thing that I really need to identify here is the triage. So, all right, the triage workflow just ran. So the orchestrator kicked off a triage, and it successfully triaged all of the issues that we just created. However, my Kimi usage limit didn't go up, and I'm not seeing any API requests come through in the Kimi console. So I think, like, the Archon workflow for some reason might not have actually used Kimi K2.6. I don't know how that's possible, though. Oh wait, oh, actually might know. We might have to. Well, no, I don't know how that would work. Maybe it's like somehow using MiniMax M2.7 still, or something. If we need to like refresh environment variables on the machine, I'm not sure exactly. But I want you to dig into the logs for the Archon workflow in the VPS and make sure we're actually using Kimi K2.6. See what we might need to do to make it so that it actually is. Maybe I need to check my MiniMax logs and see. Let me do that. So let me go MiniMax console. I'll go to my balance here. Okay, I'll sign in. There we go. Okay, balance. Well, okay, one thing that's really annoying with MiniMax is there's not really a way to actually see my usage. I might be able to see... Oh, yeah. Yep. What is UTC time right now? I forget the conversion. It's 3 p.m. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Last used 23 UTC. That's not... So that's saying 11... Wait, how... Isn't that in the future? Wait, that makes no sense. Because if it's 3 p.m. UTC right now, and it's saying it was created, or it was last used at 2300, that's in the future. Am I brain farting here, or is this telling me that it was last used in the future? That doesn't seem right at all. We're coding in the future. Okay, but I think this means that we were actually using. So per the Dark Factory plan, the Archon config is per codebase, and per codebase variables win over global. Yeah, so if the YAML still has old MiniMax values, okay, yeah, so I think that's what's happening. We forgot to update Archon. So, yeah, this triage here did not actually run with Kimi K. Okay, but we're fixing it. We're fixing it. We'll be good. And apparently the MiniMax console is broken. Yeah, so I'm just going to watch my balance here and see if it goes down from 2209. You can see that I had to spend a lot of money for the Dark Factory running with MiniMax. Even with it being so cheap, I still spent yeah, $155 on testing the Dark Factory so far. Yeah, okay, so it found it. Stale. All right, so we'll fix that, and then we'll run Kimi K from there. All right. Cool. Let's see, I'll send you a comment on the PR. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, if I create an issue to create an issue in my repository, does the Dark Factory create that for me? If I create an issue to create an issue. You might, Jeffrey, you might have to clarify your question there, because I'm not sure why you'd want to create an issue just to create another issue. Or maybe there's just like a bit of miswording there. All right. Yeah, a big problem in open source right now is kind of like AI slop, so to speak. So one thing that we have thought about for Archon, and I'm not set on this for sure, is making it so that you have to basically apply to be a pull request creator or like a maintainer. Just because it's really difficult to deal with so many pull requests. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for all the pull requests, but it is a lot. And a lot of times people are just using like, you know, their free chat GPT subscription to create the pull request. And it's like, clearly if you just use a more elaborate harness like what I'm doing, it's going to be better quality. So why not just like have my agent be the one to handle the issue, or someone else who applied and like they have a very comprehensive coding process to make reliable pull requests. So we're thinking about how to handle that right now. And then one thing that I'm actively working on, which I'm going to be building over this weekend actually, is Archon workflows to help me validate issues and review pull requests, and like also like handle deduplicates and things like that, like automatically commenting on follow-ups when people don't follow the issue template and the pull request template, things like that. So just continuing to use Archon to help manage Archon as a code base really is the only way to handle this realistically. All right. Cool. If I have built orchestrated skills into a harness that I'm happy with, would I benefit from adding it to Archon? And will it understand skills that are orchestrated? So it is very easy to turn any skill into an Archon workflow. Or you can have certain nodes in Archon workflows where you inject in those skills. So I'm not sure like exactly which one of the two applies to what you're talking about, but either way, it's really easy to handle in Archon. So you can take any skill and you can turn it into like, here are the steps where I want to sometimes like run this command deterministically and then like send something into the agent. So like one thing that we are working on right now is in Archon, we have a Claude skill to help us manage the releases for Archon. Like when we want to go from dev to main and you know cut the new release for the project, we're actually working on turning this skill into an Archon workflow. So this skill like orchestrates the entire release process. But the thing is, there's a lot of steps in the release skill that could just be deterministic commands. Like really the only thing that actually requires the agent's reasoning capability is to create the change log based on all of the commits that are going from dev into the main branch for the sort of production deployment. And so we can have an Archon workflow that runs the commands to do the publishing and the release tagging and then like call an agent in a node just to create the change log and then publish that as another deterministic node. So really it's like any skill can be made more reliable and deterministic through an Archon workflow. All right. I had not followed the whole thing about Dark Factory, so it does not exactly understand the Dark Factory at all. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to like dig into the Dark Factory I have running here, I would recommend checking out my prior live streams that I have on my channel. So if you just go to my YouTube channel here, I'll pop it up really quick. If you go to the live tab on my channel, you can see the past Dark Factory live streams. I mean, I know it is a lot of content, so I understand if you don't want to like go through literally everything. But it's hard for me to like circle back and explain everything from scratch, because if I have to re-explain everything every live stream, then I won't really get to build in public that much. But really the point of the Dark Factory is I have a code base that self-evolves. No human code allowed. I produce issues, and that's my input into the system. Here are the features I want to build or the bugs I want to fix, and then the code base, I have it use Archon workflows to build everything end to end all the way to publishing the code to production. That's what the Dark Factory does. And let's actually see where we're at now. Okay. I think we're good. So summary of what happened. Root cause in Archon's architecture, we have the config that wins out over the environment variables that I actually changed. So what I just changed, regenerated from the new environment variable. Okay, what happens next? So the next cron, the orchestrator is going to run the fix pull request, validate, implement triage. Since we have 7 freshly accepted issues and no in-flight PRs, it will dispatch the Dark Factory fix GitHub issue Archon workflow against the highest priority issue. Okay, we have a ton of lingering task work trees. Okay, let's see. Pre-existing service.tile generator auth failure. Separate Archon. Okay, no, that's fine. I don't care about that. Okay, go ahead and trigger the next Dark Factory run manually. I just want to make it move along quickly here. So when we run the orchestrator right now runs every half hour, and it'll pick up the next piece of work in the Dark Factory. Just for the sake of chugging things along here, I'm going to just tell it to do that manually. So it's going to access the instance with SSH and kick off the next run so that it'll pick up whatever issue here. So actually what we should see, oh, there we go. We already saw the label change to in progress. And now it should actually be using Kimi K2.6. So we're going to start by adding search for the video library. And this is actually a really good example because once it's implemented all the way in production, we'll actually see something here. So we got a nice feature instead of just a bug fix. And now, let's check on the logs here. Now it should actually be using Kimi K2.6. So we can go back to the console and see that in just a second. I'm just waiting for its output here to confirm things. Because I think it's just reading through the logs. Well, here, I'll just check the console now. So if I do a refresh, okay, there we go. Okay, yep, we have a ton of calls that are actually coming in now. Good, good, good. All right, good signal. Extract issue number. Claude call completed in 10 seconds. All right, yeah. So this is something separate. Don't care about that right now. User-facing confirmation is your Kimi console. Please refresh it now. You should see request traffic for the first time, and indeed I do. Okay, good. So we are looking good. We're actually using Kimi K2.6 under the hood right now to actively handle this issue. So once it's done with that Archon workflow, we'll see our first pull request to review. And then if I wanted to just like leave this going overnight, I could, and it's going to chug through all of these issues. Which I mean, I don't know if I want to wait that long, so I might also like have my Claude code handle some of these as well. Because one thing I can do is I can let the Dark Factory do its own thing, but then I can lighten the load, so to speak, by just taking up some of these myself. So like, for example, I might actually want it to have my Opus handle this one, because this would probably be the most complicated. Let me actually do that right now. Okay. Let's run a slash context. I want to see where I'm at with the context window in Claude. I'm at 22%. Okay, not bad. Cool. So I'm going to say, looks like the Kimi K2.6 is working great. It's running the workflow right now. In order to lighten the load, I want you to help the Dark Factory by handling issue number 176. So use the GitHub CLI to take a look at this. And I want you to help me ideate around how I would actually build for this. Because there's a lot of different ways that we could handle making it so that we only have the most key sources listed for the citations and any RAG answer we get. So yeah, I want you to work on this one with me, because I don't really know exactly the best way to handle this yet. So I don't want the Dark Factory to just make assumptions. Okay, let's send this in. And then we could use an Archon workflow to work on this. Like I could actually use the Dark Factory Archon workflows right now for this issue. Or I could just work on it just in this context here. The only thing for the Dark Factory is I'm not allowing myself to review the code. That's the only criteria. But I can still help the Dark Factory by chugging through some things on with my Anthropic subscription. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see. A Dark Factory means that there is a 24/7 production without a human in the loop. That's exactly right. Yep. And yeah, also thanks for saying that. The reason that it's called a Dark Factory, it actually comes from physical facilities initially, where we have these like factories in China where, or I think it might have actually been Japan at first. I forget exactly, but these factories where like it was just robots running the entire production line. So why should the company even pay for the electricity when no one needs the lights on in there? And that's kind of what we're doing with the Dark Factory in a code base, is we're not having any humans review anything. It's just running totally by itself. So it's the same kind of idea. Dark Factory. That's what we're doing. All right. So I hope that answers your question as well. What we're doing right now, building the Dark Factory. And the application that we're working on under the hood is a RAG chat application. So I'm going to actually deploy this soon so everyone can use it. But you can ask it questions, and it's kind of like an AI tutor that acts as me. And it can perform RAG over my entire YouTube channel, all of my previous videos, and even like cite its sources with timestamps and everything. So it's pretty cool. Just working on that right now, and I have not reviewed or written a single line of code for this entire application that you're looking at right here. And there are certainly bugs, like the things that we're working through right now. But man, is it shaping up to be a pretty good application. So I'm loving it. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, you're very welcome. All right. Let's see. I've got a client that wants me to create some quick scrapers and insertions into his e-commerce website to compare prices. Would it be a good use case for Archon? Yes, that would definitely be a good use case for Archon. The cool thing about Archon is it goes well beyond just AI coding. Really, any agentic process that you want to create can be an Archon workflow. And one of the most powerful things with Archon, I think I have my Excalibur diagram up. Yeah. So one of the most powerful things with Archon, I call it the hybrid secret. And that is, and like this is like probably the most important value proposition of Archon. Pretty much anything that you can make into an Archon workflow, you could also make into a skill. But the problem with Claude Code skills is you're giving all of the reasoning to the large language model under the hood. And that's dangerous because large language models forget to do things. They get confused when you walk them through really long processes. We need a mix of deterministic and non-deterministic nodes. Like sometimes you have a step in your process that you always want to be a script, or you always want to run your tests, or you always want to have some kind of branching condition. You don't want to leave that reasoning up to the LLM because it has a chance to get it wrong. But also, our workflows do need to have the power of LLMs because we need that reasoning capability to summarize information or synthesize information, whatever that might be. And so we need to combine. Like that's what Archon does. It allows you to create workflows where you're interleaving these deterministic and non-deterministic nodes. And so, for example, with a classic, software development lifecycle, you plan your implementation, and so that's using a coding agent, obviously, to generate the plan. And then from there, you iterate with the human, and then you go into the coding step. And so this is where the coding agent actually writes the code. But instead of relying on it to remember to run the tests, you have a step in the Archon workflow that runs the tests deterministically. And so it runs your linting, type checking, unit testing, integration, end-to-end testing, whatever it is. You're guaranteeing that this happens because the large language model can't necessarily guarantee it inherently. And then if there's anything that it doesn't pass in the tests, then you loop back to the coding agent to fix those things. And so in Archon workflows, it's really easy to pass output between nodes. So you can take the failures, structure that text, and then send it back into the coding agent node to retry. And then once things work, you can send it to a human approval gate so that you could test the pull request yourself or whatever before you actually open it. So that's the kind of thing you can do with Archon. And this entire process could be a single skill or a single command, but you're asking the coding agent to do way too much at once, and you're relying on it to remember to do all these things. There's a lot of harnesses out there like Stripe with their minions, for example, Shopify with Roast, AWS is building their own thing. Like every single company is converging on this idea of we need to build these harnesses where we're able to take our AI coding process and basically encode it into a workflow where we're enforcing certain things to happen along the way. Because for production software, it's not acceptable to leave the agent to, always go through the same process every single time because they're inherently non-deterministic. They won't always do the exact process you have laid out for them. And so that's why we're kind of creating boundaries and guardrails around our agents through adding in these deterministic nodes. That's the hybrid secret, as I call it. And that's really the idea of harness engineering, right? Prompt engineering is where we started. How can we get the single best output from a large language model? That evolved last year into context engineering. So engineering a rich set of context that we evolve and engineer just like our code base, but this is our AI layer. And now that's evolved to harness engineering, creating that wrapper around the coding agents. That's what Archon allows us to do, where we're able to string coding agent sessions together so each one can be minute and focused, and then also adding in those steps that we want to ensure happen every single time. So that's kind of my little few minute elevator pitch for Archon right now, the power that we have with it. And you can think about pretty much anything, even beyond AI coding, can be turned into an Archon workflow. Cool. All right, so let's see where we're at now. If I look at the Dark Factory and do a refresh. Okay, so no pull request yet, so it's still working on this. And then if I go back to my Claude here. All right, so this is the issue we're trying to figure out, how do we not give all 47 sources at once? So what's really happening? The chat has 2 retrieval loops. Cole's 47 sources almost certainly came from this sequence. Search videos, LLM identifies the right video, calls get video transcript, returns every single chunk of that video. The 47 are rough. Yeah, okay. There's also subtle technical wrinkles. Search tool chunks have a score. Okay. 5 approaches ranked by my preference. Approach. LLM emits chunk ID markers. Only those become citations. Real citations, only what answers actually leaned on. Citations count is naturally adaptive. Biggest change, needs prompt engineering, parser regression. I mean, that's kind of big. Okay. Per video plus total cap is the highest value, lowest risk play right now. Citation max per video, citation max, apply. Okay, I think that might be good. I'm actually, so let's see. The problem is every company building LLMs. Just look at, I don't know if that's really the problem because it's like it has a source from all these different videos. So that it doesn't quite understand. You know what? I'm going to have it actually run this query and look at the sources cited. So I want you to use the agent browser CLI. I will give you the path to that skill because I don't actually have it in the repository here right now. I want you to visit chat.dynamis.ai and I want you to actually send in the query. What is the Whisk framework? I want you to see the sources that are cited because actually most of them don't even come from the single video that gives us the answer. So I think when you see this and you see the videos that are cited, I think that might actually change what you end up recommending here. This is why I'm working on this one instead of leaving it up to the dark factory because this requires more of my own reasoning to figure out like how do we want to handle when it pulls so much information from my YouTube content. Like how do we boil it down into citing the sources that the user would actually care on clicking when they want to watch the full video or like watch that section that has the answer here. Because that's pretty important to get this right. I want to make sure that not just like the RAG pipeline and search strategies are good, but that like what we actually get back is what the user cares about potentially clicking on. Okay. And then still no pull request yet. But what I can do within the dark factory is I can ask it to give me an update. Let's see. Well, I guess I can't really do that because I'm waiting for this to run. So I'll let it take its time with that. All right. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. All right. How can I leverage the dark factory to build my own niche version? So the simple answer that I have for that is I would recommend just going to the Codebase here. This is a public open source Codebase. So I'll put a link to this in the YouTube chat right now. I would recommend just checking that out because you can clone this repository and then you can point your Claude Code or Codex or whatever to look here and just say like, hey, this is a cool dark factory implementation. I want this for myself. So please take these Archon workflows and mold them to my own process. And you can work with your coding agent to sort of define that. So I would first install Archon and set up Archon and get like a base understanding of the tool. Then I would take inspiration from this repository and just have your coding agent copy it. And you can have it like ask you questions for how you want to adapt it to your own niche version of the dark factory. But just use this as a starting point. It's really my recommendation. All right. Part of the skill for my program manager is to do token cost analysis ahead of assigning a task to an agent. That's a tricky thing to evaluate before you are actually doing the work because you never know when coding agents are going to get tripped up and have to like self-correct and spend a lot of tokens doing that. So yeah, I would say you can never really be that accurate with token analysis. It's a tough ask. Thanks for all you do, Cole. I appreciate it. Non-dark factory question. If I build your second brain, do I still need the SQLite piece? Or is it replaced with the Claude memory compiler video you did? So I would actually recommend both. Because as your memories expand, you can start to have millions and millions of tokens of memories in your second brain. And at that point, you really need RAG to scale. And that's what my SQLite piece provides. Because you can, just like Postgres, you can have it kind of turned into a vector database. That's what I do with SQLite. So you can perform semantic search. That's exactly what OpenClaw does over the daily logs as well, because that grows a lot. But it's still good to have like the Karpathy LLM knowledge base type thing as well, because then you have like an index. As long as that index doesn't get too long, you have to be careful of that. That's why RAG scales better. But you can have an index and have it like read maybe like just like the most recent few weeks or few months of daily logs, for example. So you kind of have two different layers. Like the index, if you load that into the coding agent, or your second brain, it like automatically has a reference to all these files, or like you can have like summaries of them as well. But if you really want to like search over millions and millions of tokens, that's not going to cut it. You need RAG to scale that. All right. Made a monster specialized agent. Reviews skills, maximize deterministic code, minimize front matter, stitch deterministic with agentic spec. Major token optimization. That sounds cool. Roy, is that an Archon workflow? Sounds like that would be an Archon workflow. Very cool. Not to be mean about it, but the pronunciation of Archon is like Orkin with an A. How you would say is more Arch-on. In Google Translate in English, fill in Archon, you'll hear it. Oh, okay, sure, I'll try that. Google Translate. I mean, it's kind of my own pronunciation because it's my own tool, but I mean, I guess maybe I don't know. I'll just type it in here. I'll play it out.
Archon.
Oh, like Archon. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, Archon. I want to pronounce it like Archon, because it's not meant to like fit the definition of how the word is already used. So I don't know. Maybe I should say it like this.
Archon.
Archon. But it does. I don't know. I like Archon. I'm curious what you guys think. I don't know. It's a fair piece of feedback though. But I like calling it Archon. I mean, there's always words that are pronounced like spelt the same but pronounced differently depending on the meaning. I guess I don't really have examples of that off the top of my head, but I guess this is just another one of that. All right. TY for all your work. You're very welcome. I appreciate it. I'll send you a copy for review this weekend when I find the time. Yeah, I mean, please make it as a pull request. For anything as an Archon improvement, please make it as a pull request. That's where I'm going to be reviewing all things. So it's really hard for me to deal with like emails separately, so please make it as a pull request for review. It's your code, your Archon it is. I appreciate it. I mean, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it right now. To me, it just sounds better and cooler than Archon, I think is what Google Translate said. I don't know. All right. Cool. So let's see where we're at now. If I refresh, do we have a pull request? Still not. Still in progress. Okay. Email field. Now run the password. Oh, it's asking me. Okay, whatever. I'll do this off camera. Agent browser. Okay. All right. So I continue. I can't share my screen yet because I just filled in the password for that account, my testing account. I mean, it's a testing password, but still. So I'll let it keep running, and then I'll share my screen again. The other thing that I want to do is I want to get a status update of the Archon workflow that's currently running with Kimi K2.6. Let me copy the path, paste it in here. I'll say read the Dark Factory plan. Currently the orchestrator is running. I have Kimi K2.6 running an Archon workflow to fix a GitHub issue. So I want you to look at the Archon logs in the machine, like SSH into it. Give me a status update. Where are we at right now for implementing this GitHub issue with Kimi K2.6? All right, and then in the meantime, I can go to the console here and make sure that we're still making requests, because we should be making requests like very frequently here. So let's wait. Okay, yep, so we're at 2% of our 5-hour limit now. And then we're making requests 34, 34, 31, 31, 31. Okay, good. So we're definitely chugging along here. This is looking really good. Okay. Very cool. Okay, yep, and then we're still doing some of the validation here for this issue we're working on. So we're doing 2 in parallel. And the cool thing is with Archon, it is very, very easy to scale this. I could be fixing all 8 of these issues at the exact same time. Now the reason I'm not is just because I think I might run out of RAM on the instance where I'm hosting the Dark Factory, because it only has like 4 gigabytes or something. But I could be running Archon workflows to handle all these at the exact same time, assuming that they can all be worked on in parallel, which I think they can be. But yeah, like you can scale this incredibly well. Because Archon workflows, they run work trees for each one of the workflows under the hood. So they each get their own isolated copy of the code base. So they're not stepping on each other's toes and overriding the changes that they're doing. And so we got a status update here. So we're handling issue number 178 with Kimi K2.6. It's been running for 20 minutes now. We did web research. We skipped the investigation because that's only for when it's a bug. When we did our plan, we bridged the artifacts. Now we are implementing. And actually the implementation just started 10 seconds ago. So it really took its time with the research and planning, which that's intentional. I've built that into the workflow for it to really take its time. And we can see that like throughout this entire process, we have actually only used 2% of our 5-hour limit here. So we're doing pretty good. For the Archon configs, the alias routes to Kimi K2.6. Yep, very good. Cool. All right, looking good. And then let me pull this off camera just to make sure I don't show that password. And then I will take a look at our status update. Yeah, okay, good. So it's currently using the agent browser to actually send in questions like about the Whisk framework and get a sense of what sources we currently get back right now. And so it's cool that like I identified this problem in the website. Like there are way too many sources that are being cited right now, but it's not like I have to explain everything. I can let it replicate the problem so that it has full context for the fix. That's what I'm doing here. All right, we're not using MiniMax anymore. Yep, so I'm gonna close out of this tab as well. All right, cool. Well, let's let it keep ripping here. All right. All right, so create a legitimate issue as prompt injection that can make me a bad actor. Does Archon handle or detect that? So yeah, I mean, I do have some defenses in the Dark Factory for prompt injection. I assume you're talking about specifically for my Dark Factory. Now, it is true that like for a Dark Factory, if I'm opening this up to the public to submit issues, there is a risk of prompt injection going into my Dark Factory if it decides to handle an issue with prompt injection. So I don't want to get like too in the weeds on that right now, but I do have some defenses in place in the Archon workflows for that. Because that is definitely something important to engineer for. What do I think about TDD? Is it integrated in any Archon workflow? Would that make sense? So test-driven development, I'm personally not a massive fan of, but, well, okay, I used to not be a fan of it, but it does work really well with coding agents because it provides more structure up front to like what we're actually expecting from the agent once it does its implementation. So I think specifically for agentic engineering, TDD is powerful. We don't have that built into any of the default workflows that ship with Archon right now, but it would be a very good workflow for you to build. I mean, and it'd be very easy, right? Like again, all you have to do is take the Archon skill that we have in the code base, bring it into wherever you are operating, like whatever code base you're operating in, and then just say, hey, I want to build a test-driven development workflow. I want it to start with these tests and then do this for implementation, like blah, blah, blah. You describe it as much detail as you can, what you're looking for in a workflow. And then your coding agent can just build that out and then even like test it autonomously with the Archon CLI. So that would, I mean, I definitely want to do more content on YouTube for just building Archon workflows in general. And building a TDD workflow in Archon would be a really cool use case. Definitely something that I haven't done yet that I should have. So I like that. Okay. So the real distribution. 29 unique videos cited. The answer text exactly one video as the source. So the correct video has 7 chunks. And then 28 other unrelated videos, like build an army of AI agents on autopilot with Archon. What this means: my earlier theory, transcript tool dumping in a single video, is wrong. The pattern here is different. The LLM ran multiple search video calls with broad queries. The model correctly identified the one video that answers the question, but every chunk it ever looked at became a citation, even the 28 videos it discarded. And that's exactly the problem we have here, is the coding agent, it does a lot of searching. It's finding a ton of different videos before, or maybe it finds the right one right away, but it still wants to be more comprehensive in its search. So this is fundamentally different from a too many problem. It's a context versus citation problem. The user is shown everything the model retrieved, not what it actually used. So what I'd recommend is LLM cited chunks. It's now clearly the right architectural answer. With the existing chunk ID references already provided to the model when it performs the tool calls, we just need to modify the system prompt to require the LLM to emit chunk ID markers in line after claims grounded in retrieved context. And then we post-process the stream answer to extract chunk ID markers and intersect with tool chunks. And then strip the markers. Okay. I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a complicated implementation. The risk is, because this is non-deterministic, right? The risk is prompt instructed citations are imperfect. The LLM might forget markers or shorter answers, emit markers for chunks that aren't quite right ones, blah, blah, blah. I actually do want to go into option number one, though. Okay, this entire application right now is using Sonnet 4.6 under the hood. It's a pretty capable model. And so I think I would actually trust it with these markers here. Because, okay, what if we did this? Oh, here's a good idea. Okay, let's go with option number one right now. But what if we displayed like two sets of sources cited? We'd have one where it's like, these are the ones that are actually referenced in the answer. And then we could also have like another option that users could expand if they really want, that shows like all of the chunks that it found. So that would be kind of more like hidden away, and we'd primarily focus on in the answer the cited sources that are like actually used in the answer. I think that could be a good compromise. So that way, if there's any kind of like prompt instructed citations that are imperfect, we can at least like see like under the hood every single chunk that was deterministically returned from the RAG tool calls. I think that's a good compromise here. So basically within our dashboard here, whenever we get an answer, like the primary sources it cites are only the ones that the LLM recognizes that it used in its answer. But then also we would have something else that's like, smaller text that we could expand right here, for example. That would be like, this isn't necessarily what was used, but here's like every single chunk that was returned from all of the searches that we performed. Let's do it that way. And then give me another status update. We'll see where we're at right now with the issue implementation that's actually running in the dark factory. All right. It's thinking hard about this one. Razzmatazing. There we go. Okay, now it's generating tokens. Good. Very good. All right. Okay, so it's still running. Oh no, actually the implementation is done. Now it's running the validation. Very cool. Yes, I do want you to check back when validate finishes. All right, cool. And so if we go back to the repo here, that should mean we have a pull. Oh, okay, no, I guess it's validating internally before it actually creates the pull request. So no PR yet. It's really taking its time with this one. But I've designed the Archon workflows to take time. Like I'm not optimizing for speed here because it's running autonomously. I handle sets of issues overnight anyway. And that's what I have been doing with MiniMax M2.7. So yeah, I mean, it's harder to it feels like watching paint dry when it's in the middle of a live stream, but it's, like I said, not optimized for speed. So anyway, it's actually scheduled here. So it's really cool. Something I do with Claude Code a lot when I'm running Archon workflows is I'll have Claude Code schedule a task to check on the Archon workflow periodically, and then even using like an alert mechanism to let me know when it's done. Okay. Let's see. Issue number 176 is now factory needs human with the revised plan in a comment. All right, so want me to start implementing it now. It'll start by blah, 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 blah. Looks good. Yeah. Yes, I want you to go ahead and start implementing now. And then I want you to create a pull request from the implementation after you've validated it end to end with the agent browser CLI. And then after we have the pull request created, then I want you to use the validate PR Archon workflow with the Archon CLI to do full validation of the pull request. And then if there are any issues that come up from the pull request comments, I want you to address those things and push the changes, those fixes right to the pull request after you do more validation. So validation. Oh, this is good. So this is actually going to be a pretty long-running task here. I don't even know if this will finish by the time our live stream is done. But we're in good shape right now. So for this live stream, we switched to Kimi K2.6. We identified here are the problems we want to address right now. We created a whole bunch of GitHub issues that are going to be handled autonomously by the factory now with Kimi K2.6. And we're already in the middle of executing one. And then there's another one that I knew was going to be more like, I need to at least plan this out with the agent. So figuring out the right solution. And now I have my Claude code handling that end to end. So I won't even review the code and I'll just merge this into production and then have it do some regression testing after. That's the plan there. Very cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the chat here and see what other questions we got. All right. What is it going to do once it's done? Just was suggested that video. Yeah, so this application, once it is done, is going to be your AI tutor grounded in my YouTube content. That's the application that the Dark Factory is working on here. So you can come into the chat here and ask any question you want, like what is Archon, for example? And then it'll perform RAG queries. And it's a little slow because I have it default to like pretty comprehensive searching, but it'll like show you what it's searching for as it's picking out content from my YouTube channel. And then it will give you the final answer. It'll stream up the final answer after it's done searching and then even cite its sources. You can go and click and like watch the YouTube videos where I talk about whatever it is. And so what is Archon open source AI agent builder overview, blah, blah, blah. So we'll kind of just let it go here. But yeah, the point is for you to be able to like quickly get answers from my YouTube content and have it be like your personal AI tutor. Maybe I'll even build like a memory system over time so it can answer questions based on like the things you're actively working on. All right. It has to search a while because we have obviously different evolutions of Archon over time on my channel. All right, Archon is the next layer above harnesses. It's the scaffolding for real-world AGI, starting to go exponential already this week. It's in front of me, historical. Hey, I'm glad you're loving Archon to that extent. AGI is a big claim, but certainly like Archon being able to allow you to like build any harness you could possibly dream of. It's something that it's just not available right now. Like Archon is a one-of-a-kind solution currently, so I'm glad you're loving it. Cool. Archon is an open source project created by the channel's creator. That's kind of ugly. It should just say cool. I might have to change that in the system prompt. So it started as an AI agent builder, and now it has evolved to a harness builder for AI coding. Very cool. So yeah, it gave a pretty good answer here. All right, and then it cites all of its sources as well. But of course, that's probably more than we need right now. But hey, it even cited like this one right here. So you built this workflow. It is so simple in Archon. So wherever you have Archon... All right, very cool. Nice. So there we go. Let's see if we have a pull request now. Okay, still not. Yeah, it'll definitely take its time. All right. Yeah, exactly. A 24-hour clock makes 2300 11 p.m. So that is in the future. The MiniMax console is broken. Okay, in the last 3 days, I fixed my wood deck, tended to civil legal matters, engaged a realtor to sell a home, all with Archon and Claude code. No direct coding, virtually no human-in-the-loop stops. Save weeks. That is super cool. Those are some really unique use cases for Archon workflows. I love to hear about that. That's cool. Nice. It's funny that your realtor is talking just to Archon. All right. Let's see. On the matter of tokens, made a specialized agent. Oh no, I already looked at that one, but it's very cool. Very cool. Let's see. All right. Pronounce it the way you like to pronounce it. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I'll be doing. But I totally understand that, like, it's not the classic way to pronounce Archon. Is Kimi K2.6 good? I only used Claude Code before. So it pretty much equals Claude in the benchmarks. And it's a lot cheaper. Now, if that is really true, that's kind of what I'm finding out right here. I want to get to the point where I have the pull request, so I can kind of have Claude do a little bit of a review and see how good Kimi K2.6 actually did. But yeah, from some testing that I did before, like for hearing about other people's testing, in the Dynamis community, it like seems like it's really good as an alternative and a more token efficient version to the Claude models. I would say it's at least as good as Sonnet. I don't know if it's realistic to say it's like super close to Opus 4.7, but it's still a very capable model. All right. Thank you for sharing. Can you share the skills in your Claude Code setup? Yeah, you're welcome. And one thing I would point you to is a video on my channel where I cover my general strategies for using Claude Code. I have a lot of like my skills and commands and things that I gave away there too. That is this video right here. So I'll put a link to this one in the chat. If you guys want to see, like my live stream right here is it's definitely like covering some meatier stuff. I'm building live, doing some pretty complicated things. If you guys want to see like fundamentally how I work with Claude Code and all of like my core strategies, this is the video for that. I put a lot of effort into this one for you. So yeah, check that one out. All right, I'm just waiting for this pull request. Let's go back and see where we're at now. Okay, so this one's still working on the rag fix. Give me a status update now. All right. A problem I've had with my second brain attempt, kept trying to reconfigure to old specs and remembering old things and trying to do. I think your comment must have cut off there. I think what you're getting at here is your second brain is remembering old information that isn't relevant anymore. And that is something that I'm honestly still myself working on engineering for. Because as you're building memories over time in your second brain, there's going to be information that goes stale. Like your code base has shifted its tech stack, or you're no longer interested in this thing that you told your second brain you're interested in before. Like maybe your hobbies have changed and you have it like give you suggestions for hobbies. Like literally whatever it is, that information might grow stale. And so one thing that you can do is you can have like a tag on any piece of information where you'd like prefix it with like stale information. So that way if the agent retrieves it, it'll know like, okay, this isn't what Stuart likes anymore. This isn't his current tech stack for this code base anymore. And so basically like if it ever gives you some information, you're like, oh no, that's actually stale. Then you tell it and then it knows to like go back to where it found that information and then mark it as stale. I mean, you could delete it entirely as well, but also it can be kind of helpful for your second brain to understand how things have evolved over time. So I find it useful to like call the information stale versus just remove it from its memory entirely, if that makes sense. No, that doesn't quite scale as well because it might pull a ton of chunks of just stale information when it performs RAG over your daily logs or whatever your knowledge base is. But I still think that it's a good approach just so that like, I don't know, I'm kind of uncomfortable just like fully deleting things from my second brain. All right. I use TDD for everything. Tip, coding agents cannot modify original TDD tests, so we cannot leave software engineering behind. Well said. Yeah, no, that's really important because one thing that coding agents will do sometimes is they'll game the tests. They'll edit the tests to make it so that they pass even though the code is actually broken. So that is a very important constraint and the kind of thing you can build as a constraint in the Archon workflow. You run the tests and you don't let the agent actually edit the tests because then it's there. You're giving the agent permission potentially to game the system basically. All right. Cool. So looking at the evolution of the Archon project, how confident are you about the current form as a harness designer? Will Anthropic release a similar product and force a shift in focus again? Okay, that is a very, very fair question. And I appreciate you bringing this up because honestly, I feel like I haven't actually addressed this enough, like in my live streams and different Archon videos. So if we go to the original version of Archon, version 1 stable. So the original Archon, well, okay, I guess there was one even before that, where it was like the AI agent builder, but like the main like big Archon that I was focusing on last year was the operating system for AI coding, as I called it. Your command center, this is where we had like the task management and RAG for AI coding. And one of the biggest reasons that I changed the focus of Archon, like Max is getting at here, is because a lot of these capabilities in the old version of Archon were essentially built into coding agents. Like RAG wasn't as powerful anymore when the search capabilities and web search tools in coding agents like Claude Code became good enough where like it was able to scrape documentation and you didn't really need to have this like separate RAG knowledge base that you curated for AI coding anymore. So other MCP servers like, Context7, for example, also became decently irrelevant. I mean, there's still some power to this, but like overall, like I've totally stopped using Context7 and I stopped using the old version of Archon for RAG. And then we also had the task management piece as well. But all these coding agents do such a good job at managing internal task lists and then also like integrating with tools like Linear and Jira and Asana when you want to manage like a higher level task list. And so I found myself using this less as well. So anyway, that's why I shifted from the old Archon. But then to actually answer your question, Max, I am very confident in the new version of Archon standing the test of time. And there is a very, very simple and objective reason for that. Think about it this way. The old Archon is tools that you build into an AI coding assistant, like task management and RAG. It's a level below the coding agent because it's tooling. The new Archon it flips that entirely. The new Archon is actually above the coding agents, not below. And so you can't really phase out the new version of Archon within a single coding agent because Archon is what orchestrates the coding agents. I mean, yeah, theoretically Claude Code could kind of build its own like harness creator, but one, you're still stuck to the individual tool, and a lot of people don't like using Claude Code because of the rate limits and taking away Claude Code from the $20 a month subscription. Like people are pretty frustrated with Archon, so you want to be able to use any coding agent you want. And you can do that with the new Archon. You can coordinate coding agents. And then the other thing is just being able to like customize the mix of deterministic and non-deterministic nodes. I don't think that's going to be built into Claude Code because the whole point is just to have the Claude model run everything. It kind of be against their business model for you to spend less tokens to have things be more like deterministic when possible. So it's not 100% thing. Like there's always a possibility that another tool or another coding agent is going to come up with something like Archon. But the moat is in the fact that we can use any provider and that we are the layer above the coding agents and mixing or building workflows where we're mixing deterministic and non-deterministic steps. I hope that makes sense. The harness designer, I mean, the other thing is there's like actually nothing like it right now because like this is a fundamentally difficult problem to solve. Archon was not an easy code base to build. There has been so much work that myself and then especially Rasmus and Thomas have been helping me a lot as well. There is an incredible amount of work that has gone into Archon and will continue to go into Archon. When I built the first version of Archon, there were already tools for task management, like Claude Taskmaster, for example. We already had Context7, so there was already RAG. I mean, there's benefits to Archon over those because it's combining it in one place. And then also, like, with Context7, you're not building your own RAG knowledge base, for example. With Archon, you actually get to control it. So there were still some differences, but, like, the point is the old Archon wasn't, like, brand new. But, like, the new Archon, there's nothing like it. There are companies like Shopify and Stripe that have their own internal harnesses, but they're not open source. They're not a harness builder. I mean, there's things that are kind of like create your spec-driven development, but it's not like Archon where it's like powerful and general enough where it can be used for literally any agentic process that you'd want to map out into a reliable and repeatable workflow. Cool. All right. It's always tricky on what to keep and drop at certain stages of evolution. It feels like SEO a little bit and the speed of evolution of AI. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not just evolving things to create more hype. Like what I'm describing there is very legitimate. Where it's like, okay, I started using my own tool less and less. So now let me create something. Let me shift the focus to something that is going to be more stand the test of time and what the AI industry is actually evolving to right now. And harness engineering is what AI coding is evolving to right now. Like I said, it was like prompt engineering until 2024, and then last year was the year of context engineering. Now it's the year of harness engineering. All right. I aspire to use Archon in the Dark Factory with Pi. Very cool. And yeah, we support Pi now. To synergize open source projects with Pi, a generic agent, to enhance or evolve this harness when introduced something synergistic. Cool. I'm a little bit lost what you're saying at the end there, but it's very cool that you want to use Archon and build the Dark Factory around Pi, because you could do that right now. We just last week added in Pi as the third supported coding agent under the hood with Archon workflows. Cool. All right, let's see where we're at now. I finally have a pull request. Man, still not yet. These workflows take a while. Kimi K2.6 is also kind of slow, unfortunately. All right, so we're going to have to let it go. Give me another status update. It's taking its time with its validation. Let's see where we're at right now with the console. Think we can replicate what Stripe is doing? Oh yeah, we could definitely take a Stripe workflow or the Stripe harness and build it into Archon. I mean, they don't open source it all. They just kind of wrote some blog posts on it, so we don't know exactly what goes into their harness. But whatever it is, you could 100% build it into Archon. Yep. All right. So. Still going. I'm going strong. We've used 4% of our 5-hour. That's not bad for how long this has been going. Yeah. So we'll probably use up to maybe 6% by the time we actually have a pull request. I hope we have one soon. It's kind of annoying how long it's taking, because I guess Kimi K2.6 is quite a bit slower than MiniMax or even Opus. Okay. Validation is still running. All right. Yeah. All right. We'll let it keep going here. Okay. Still making code changes here for our reg fix. Cool. Well, let's keep going. All right. Create a real-time dashboard of issues open in the Dark Factory. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, the thing is, this is sort of my real-time dashboard right here, right? Because it does actually update as things are coming along. Sometimes the GitHub's a little bit glitchy. That's why I've been refreshing the page, but I think it's supposed to be real time. I would love a video on TDD as an Archon workflow, embedding best practices from TDD and marrying it with the planned contract negotiation process. That would make a really good video. Honestly, it might do that more as a live stream, because building Archon workflows, it's really cool to show that live. But I could actually do that for one of the live streams I'm doing. One thing I forgot to say is I'm going to start live streaming a lot more now. So I'm still going to put out YouTube content every week, but I also want to live stream every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, like what I'm doing right now. So yeah, if you guys are having a good time with me, just building out Archon, working on the Dark Factory, there's a lot of things I can do live with you guys. I'd love to have you at a lot of these live streams. Just tune in whenever you guys get the chance. Because I honestly, I like doing live streams more than making YouTube videos. I like doing both, but live streams just have a certain energy to them. It's really fun to build things live with you guys. And honestly, it's there's less pressure in a live stream. I know it sounds kind of weird because I'm live versus I get to record and reiterate or re-record things, but I like just kind of going, and just having a more it's okay to mess up and slip on my words and have to fix things live, because that's just a part of the process to share with you guys. Yeah. Actually, my bad, but apparently it can be pronounced Archon, being Archon in English. Just fact check. Google Translate text-to-speech can be unreliable. Okay, well that's good to hear. I appreciate you circling back and saying that, and that also makes me feel better about pronouncing it like a K, Archon. I'm glad. Good. Can the Dark Factory host multiple repos or one repo per Dark Factory? I would recommend one repo per Dark Factory, or that could get pretty unruly. All right. Should Notebook LLM not be able to do the same as Whisk? So Whisk, I'm a little bit confused by that question, because Whisk is a strategy for AI coding. And you're not really doing AI coding in Notebook LM. Notebook LM is more like akin to like a second brain, where you're storing information and performing RAG over information. So maybe you could elaborate, but I feel like that's like comparing apples to oranges. Like Whisk framework for AI coding isn't something that like really fits into Notebook LM. Hermes agent plus Archon compatibility PR soon ready. Oh, I'm interested. Okay. I'm interested. I mean, I'm curious what that would entail, because really you can have your Hermes agent use Archon just by giving it the Archon skill, as long as you also have Archon installed on that same machine where you're using the Hermes agent. So I'm curious like what that PR really entails, but I'm interested to check it out when you got it ready. All right. You're a paramount example of creating value. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. All right. Why don't we use some warm or cold type of solution for memory, which happens in the nightly consolidation? Something that would over time validate against existing details and adjust accordingly. That would be a cool approach. So yeah, going back to earlier, I was saying like when a piece of information goes stale, we just tell our second brain so it goes back actively and marks it as stale. But I don't know exactly how you'd engineer for this, Ivan, but that would be really cool. Like as a part of like the dreaming process or the reflection process, whatever you want to call it, you would have it compare like current tasks and current things you're working on to past memories, and be like find those connections where things might have changed or gone stale. The challenge with that is your memories grow to millions and millions and millions of tokens. And so how is your reflection process know like what memories to even look through to try to see if it's stale? I guess you could do some kind of semantic search, like comparing recent tasks to old things on the same code base or the same project or whatever. But that would be pretty tricky to make it like an actually accurate process. So I'd be interested to engineer for that, but that would be a very challenging part of Second Brain for sure. All right. Just joined. If it's not too annoying, can I get a TLDR on the Dark Factory and Archon and other connected pieces? Sure. Yeah, I'd love to do a little TLDR quick for those of you who have joined recently. We've had like a good number of people the entire live stream. I appreciate everyone who's been sticking around and watching. So yeah, I'll give like a quick overview here. And actually, let me check for a pull request really quick before. Okay, oh, we do actually have a pull request. Okay, good. So I will explain what's going on really quickly here, and then I will view the pull request. And we'll actually do a review with Claude so we can see how good Kimi K2.6 did on this pull request here. So, okay, the big thing I'm working on here is the Dark Factory. This is the idea of we have a code base that is completely managed by AI, from idea all the way to production deployment. No human allowed for reviewing or writing a single line of code. I'm calling it an experiment because it's not like this is how I'd recommend writing production level software reliably, but this is peering into the future of AI coding where we have our projects managed entirely, the entire software development lifecycle managed by AI. As far as the actual application that I'm building with this Dark Factory, it's a RAG application. It's like an AI tutor where you're talking to me because it's able to search through my YouTube videos to get the answers to your questions. Like what is the Whisk framework, for example, or what is Archon, or how should I build this workflow? Like any kind of question you have, it's like you're talking to me directly, or at least that's the goal of this application that I'm actively working on with the Dark Factory. Now, the other thing with the Dark Factory, and this is where Archon comes in, is I need to define workflows to handle the different stages of the Dark Factory. So whenever I give a set of issues, like here are the bugs that I need to fix or the features that I need to implement, this is like my input into the Dark Factory, right? Like I supply the issues, and then the Dark Factory is going to handle things from issue all the way to pull request, merging, and deploying the code to production. So I need workflows to handle writing the code, reviewing the pull requests, doing regression testing to make sure that as we're evolving the code base, we're not breaking existing things. All of these are handled as Archon workflows. So Archon is my open source harness builder. It allows you to take your AI coding process, no matter how you plan or implement or validate, and package it up into deterministic and repeatable workflows. So no matter how you work, you create workflows that look kind of like this. You have your different steps for planning and then running tests and then performing code review and implementation, like all of these things. You package it up as a workflow that you can now just tell your coding agent to run. So Archon becomes a CLI and a skill that your coding agent has access to. So you can say, use Archon to fix this issue, or use Archon to review this code, and it'll route to the right workflow and then execute your comprehensive software development lifecycle on that piece of work to, handle a pull request or an issue or whatever it is. So that's my little elevator pitch for Archon. It's kind of like the N8N for AI coding. You build workflows to run your AI coding process, and it allows you to also, like the other big value add of Archon is we have the mix of deterministic and non-deterministic nodes. Because as everyone knows, when you're using AI coding assistants and you ask it to, pull this context or do this validation after implementation, sometimes it forgets to do that or it doesn't do it quite like you wanted. And so the power in Archon is we can add in deterministic steps. So like after we write the code, we absolutely guarantee that we run these specific tests for our linting or our unit testing, or end-to-end testing, whatever. And then we structure that output. If there's any failures, we loop back to the coding agent to fix those things. This is just one example of an Archon workflow that you can build. And so we're making AI coding more reliable by actually taking some of the decisions away from the coding agent. So you're not always relying on it to remember your full process. And with Archon, we can also split workflows into different coding agent sessions. So each coding agent can be more focused on the exact thing that you're trying to accomplish at that step in the workflow, like creating the plan for the implementation or actually doing the implementation, whatever that might be. So it's the idea here of harness engineering. We're building a wrapper around the coding agent to inject our full process for AI coding so it can reliably handle larger pieces of work. All right, so there you go. That's I'm getting better. It's still like hard to explain things in a really concise way, but I'm getting better at giving the full elevator pitch for the Dark Factory and Archon. That was only like 3 or 4 minutes. Not bad. Okay, well anyway, let's take a look at the pull request here. All right. Oh shoot, that's the pull request actually for the other one we were working on with Claude. Okay, so here we have created the pull request, label it as factory needs review, and then we have the Archon validate pull request workflow running on it. Okay, very cool. It actually decided to run it. I didn't necessarily intend for this, but this is kind of cool. So validate PR, it's actually using Kimi K2.6 to validate the pull request that I worked on locally here. So we're running the Archon validate PR workflow on remote. All right, and then this one, okay. It looks like go ahead and just create the PR. There might have been a hiccup with Kimi because it seems like Kimi K2 is actually frozen in that workflow. So I'm just going to tell it to create the pull request. Kind of interesting. Because, okay, we've had a lot of calls recently. I'm not really sure why it says it's stuck. Honestly, Claude code might be hallucinating here. But anyway, I'm going to open up a pull request because that way we can, like, I don't care about it doing all of its self-validation. That's not super important anyway. We got through the entire Archon workflow except the very last step. So I'm just going to create the pull request so we can take a look at Kimi K2.6 code and do a review here. So I just wanted to push this to a PR. So we should see a second pull request pop up in a little bit. This is the one that we were working on in Claude Code locally. And then we'll have a pull request in a second for the other GitHub issue that is in progress in the factory here, number 178. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, let's see the branch base, uncommitted changes. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there might be something weird that happened under the hood. So maybe Kimi K2.6 is doing something disappointing here. We're about to find out. Because it's something strange. It's saying that this pull request has 7,000 insertions compared to main. Okay, the real diff, just one commit, uncommitted changes, import. Oh, okay. I see. It's just some linting stuff. Okay, so we're good. We'll create the pull request here and take a look at the code changes. All right. That was pretty well explained. Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm glad. Thank you. Cool. All right. Anyone who has configured Archon to run on OpenCode. You know, we do have a couple of open pull requests for Archon with OpenCode. Let's see. Still have to look into these here, but there's a couple of them actually within the last couple of days. So definitely people are interested in adding that and have some pull requests out that we still have to review. All right. Okay, so do we have a pull request now? There we go. Okay, now we got a pull request. Add a debounce title search. That is an ugly pull request summary. Holy cow, that is really weird. Okay, the funny thing though is that's actually, oh no, never mind. It looks better now. That was just a GitHub glitch. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at the file changes. And so, okay, all of this code was written by Kimi K2.6 in the Dark Factory VPS. And so what I want to do now is actually have it do a code review. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and end the workflow because we have the pull request created. Then I want you to merge this pull request so that we can see it deployed live. But while we're waiting for it to deploy, I want you to also do a code review yourself right here in the CLI. Because you are Claude Opus 4.7, I want you to review the code quality from Kimi K2.6 and do an evaluation of how good of a job it actually did addressing this issue. So make sure you read the GitHub issue with the GitHub CLI that this closes so you have full context of what we're working on here. All right, good. So we'll merge and then do a review at the same time. Because before I end the live stream here, I want to show you guys the final result of the factory handling this issue. As far as why Kimi K2.6 is hanging, that's kind of weird. It says that it stalled mid-LLM stream. So there might be some reliability issues with Kimi. I've never had MiniMax M2.7 hang in an Archon workflow. So I know it's not Archon's fault. And you can tell from the logs here that it was in the middle of Kimi streaming out some text that it froze. So that's a little unfortunate that maybe Kimi isn't like the most reliable. I don't know if there's like an outage or something. If I look at status. What would even the website be? Status.kimi.com. They don't even have a status page. Never mind. Yeah, I don't even know how I'd be able to check that. But anyway, let's go back. Duplicate this. Scroll up top. Okay, so good. We merged that pull request. And so the way that I have this working with the Dark Factory is whenever it merges a pull request, every 10 minutes there's a process that runs that checks for merged pull requests. And if there is one, then it'll deploy changes live to our website here. So we will see in just a few minutes here that we can go into the library and actually search through the videos. So obviously not here yet because it hasn't been 10 minutes. But we'll see it at some point soon here. All right. All right, pulling the diff for review. And then this one, we're still running the validate PR, looking good. All right, so this is kind of like the final test here, is having Claude evaluate the Kimi PR. We'll see how good Kimi K2.6 actually did on the full run. All right. All right. Thanks for elaborating. I agree that this focus seems very promising. Looking at the Anthropic paper about model evolution, making specific harnesses obsolete, being the designer is key. And that's exactly right. Yep. Yeah, I think what's really at risk, kind of like you're saying, is the individual harnesses, because fundamentally how we use AI coding assistants has to change as the tools and large language models both become more powerful over time. And so the other really powerful thing with Archon is it allows us to adapt with the speed of AI, because as soon as the next large language model comes out, and it's maybe able to handle things more end to end, we can just adjust our harness to like leverage that new capability. So because Archon defines things in such simple terms with like these YAML files for workflows, it's much easier to edit and evolve Archon harnesses compared to something like BMAT or GSD or GitHub Spec Kit. I mean, first of all, you have to wait for them to really adjust the harness, but also you can't really customize it. So yeah, that's really the big value proposition for Archon. Okay. What is it doing here? Goodness gracious. No, the deployment happens automatically in the VPS. I just want you to care about doing the code review right now. I guess that's kind of my fault. I confused it and was telling it to wait for the deployment, but that's just going to happen separately. All right. Or rather, at the designer level is key, rather than only being a user of a pre-built harness. Yeah, exactly. The key skill will be to stay up to date with model capability and need for context and instructions. Right, yeah, as the tools and LLMs get more powerful, exactly how we work with them changes. Like the context we give, how long of tasks we allow it to work on, that kind of thing. Yep. Like that's one of the things I'm doing all the time. Like constantly as I am trying new large language models when they come out, I'm evaluating like how far can I push this, right? Like how much do I need to be in the loop as a human? How much do I need to be context engineering versus just letting it discover things and having more of a free form process that is going to, get closer and closer to the dark factory over time. But there's definitely still certain pull requests like this one that I was working on in Claude Code directly in this stream where like I knew that I couldn't just hand this to the dark factory. Like I have to apply my own critical thinking here because there's no way it's going to come up with the best solution overall. But I am still letting it run all the code, validate everything, and merge everything end to end. So it still is the dark factory. I'm just doing the planning up front with it. All right. Cool. Okay, maybe I didn't get all information. You said you're working on getting info from your videos. Is that not Whisk or is that something else? Oh, so sorry. Yeah, let me be clear here. The Whisk framework is just this is like a test question that I asked it. So this comes from a YouTube video. It is a strategy for AI coding that I cover in a YouTube video. So what you're really asking here is like this entire application that I built, couldn't this application just be Notebook LM? And the answer is like yes, but also there's a lot more like customization and power I can build into this than just a personal Notebook LM. Notebook LM is more like what you would just use for your own personal knowledge base. So you could like ingest my YouTube videos into Notebook LM, and I know a lot of people that do that. But having my own custom application allows me to create more custom and tailored search strategies and like building a RAG pipeline that ingests my YouTube content in the way that I know is going to work best for people asking questions on the platform. It's always more powerful in the end to build your own solution versus just using something out of the box, even though using something out of the box can be pretty powerful and just be really, really easy, like Notebook LM. But I still like the idea of if people are going to be using my AI tutor, I'd rather it be like something that I'm really controlling and building for you versus just relying on an existing platform. All right, cool. So let's go back here to Claude. All right, what does it say? Okay, so it says B+. Claude says that Kimi K2.6 is a B+. So it got a lot of things right. Very cool. Issues, lost auth gate on initial fetch. Okay. It says not a blocker. Backend rejects properly, but a real behavioral regression. Sure. Okay. Spec drift into, okay, low severity, weak empty query. I mean, these are like tiny things. No wildcard. I mean, sure. Things I checked that are not problems. Okay. For a handoff autonomous workflow run, this is a strong work. Kimi read enough of the codebase to correctly infer the router level auth pattern. Good. So it's pulling from my existing codebase to know how to build something new. Register the temptation to improve. Okay, correctly mirrored the inline style pattern, got the routing, ordering, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we don't have to focus on the little details here. Stumbled on the auth gate regression. Unannounced scope expansion. Yeah, I mean, large language models do that all the time. But like honestly, if you have a separate Claude session review another Claude Opus implementation, it usually doesn't give an A+ anyway. So a B+ is actually really solid. So like overall, Kimi K2.6 did a good job here with the implementation. And we should be able to refresh here and actually see the feature live. Maybe we have, let me actually ask it. Okay. All right, so I want you to dig into the SSH into the VPS and check on the deployment status. Is there a failed deployment? Have we deployed recently? I don't see the video library search on the website yet. So you can also use the agent browser to go through chat.dynamis.ai and test this yourself, because maybe I'm also not looking in the right place for where this was implemented. I want to see the final result deployed, but I might be missing something here. Because I don't see the search yet, unless it like glitched and put it in the bottom. No. I might have also misunderstood what I wanted, but we'll see in a second. Investigating deployment, probing live API in parallel. Okay, cool. Good. Let's see where we're at in a second. All right. You should streamline the Archon getting started, quick start deployment documentation. Information about getting the web UI is only in deployment, so you're not naturally getting there. Yeah, so very fair feedback. We are actually working next week. Next week, our biggest priority is finishing up the binary stuff so it's really easy to install, and then improving our documentation. And then we also want to take the Archon skill and put it as like an NPX package so you can bring it into any code base with a single command. So we're working on those things. That is yeah, early next week priority. Honestly, if you told me 5 years ago that computers would one day control the desktop, fetch content, write code, and post to forums, I would have trolled you in the face. I mean, same here. Yep. Yep. All right. Okay, everything is deployed and working. You're almost certainly looking at a stale browser cache or visited before the swap completed. Okay. Confirmation the new code is live. Return 401. All right, front end, what you should do. Hard refresh. Oh, it's because it's in the admin search. Okay, I got it. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there we go. We have the new feature in the admin dashboard. We didn't have, sorry, I thought that it was adding the search here, which I would actually probably want to add this as a separate pull request, but we have the search in the admin library, which that's actually my fault for not being specific, but this works. So let's actually try it out. So these are a bunch of videos on my channel here. Let's go all the way down to, let's see. You're hardly using what Claude Code has to offer. So if I just search for like hardly, for example, hardly. There we go. Boom. Kimi K2.6 built the full search functionality on its own. And I never validated anything or touched a single line of code. And Claude Code says it did a B+. So that's pretty solid. Like, this is looking pretty good. If I search Claude Code, there we go. Pretty cool. If I search for Pi, we should just see one video pop up. Pi coding. There we go. Okay. Very cool. Nice. So we built something end-to-end, and it's looking pretty good. I might just want to have Claude actually iterate on some of the things that it came up with here, but like honestly, these aren't that big of a deal. how about we just create a follow-up GitHub issue to address these issues that came up in your review. And then we can just literally let the factory handle that end to end. I think that sounds good. Cool, so let's do that. And then we have the validate PR Archon workflow running on this one still. We're kind of in a state now where we just have to wait for the next things to be done. So I think this is actually a good time to call the live stream here, because I've also been live streaming for 2.5 hours, which is quite a long time. So, all right. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream here. We got a lot done. We swapped our entire Dark Factory running Kimi K2.6, ran a full issue to pull request to deployment end to end, did a review. Kimi K2.6 seems to be rocking it. Obviously, I didn't do like extremely comprehensive testing, but I will continue to do so over the weekend as I'm chugging through everything in the Dark Factory here. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how I'm using Archon for the Dark Factory as well, just talking about the vision for it, things I'm working on. I really appreciate all your guys' questions for Archon and the Dark Factory as well. It's really an honor to see how invested so many of you guys are with Archon and using it, and I appreciate, and it's really cool to see all the value that you guys are getting out of it as well. It really is my big passion project right now, and something that I'm just insanely invested in. So yeah, with that, thank you everyone for being here for this Dark Factory and Archon live stream. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will see you all in the Dynamis community if you're in the community, or in the YouTube channel otherwise. So take care everyone. Have